Call the meeting to order. If you'll all please rise for the invocation by Supervisor Watson and the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Sockwell.
Heavenly Father, as we assemble today, please guide us to use our best skills and judgments as we consider the merits of each item that is placed before us. We pray for peace within ourselves and throughout the world. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me.
I need a motion to call for an executive session to be held on July 2nd, 2012 at 9 a.m. for discussion and consultation with legal counsel.
So moved.
Second the motion.
A motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Committee or legislative reports. Supervisor Sockwell, do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Supervisor Watson?
Done today.
Monday. I have a short one. I attended the Western Interstate Region Conference. Lieutenant Governor John Sanchez of New Mexico gave an impressive update on the growth plan for the state and also Santa Fe. And Dr. Lowell Catwell explained his take on what how education is changing and predicting that more colleges will be virtual and that a degree will be obtained in 2 years as opposed to the standard 4 years now. We had classes on economic development, how reducing regulatory speeds up the process. In comparing with other systems, we are ahead of the curve and have made some positive changes that are ahead of the other counties. We went over Endangered Species Act and working with the other government agencies and private parties. And I was able to sit down with our partner counties in Utah and go over our plans for fighting the uranium ban and the leaked emails that just came out. We are putting together a resolution for NACO. Congressman Flake toured our senior center in Lake Havasu City to see how we used our CDBG money and how we are administrating our federal monies. He also visited our flood control project in Horizon 6 and was impressed with our flood control and public works employees and commented how smoothly and quickly the process was moving forward. Is there a county manager's report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, I'd ask Mr. Latosky to bring the board up to date on one of our facilities projects in Lake Havasu.
Good morning, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Watson, Supervisor Sockwell. Public Works recently completed the exterior painting of the 37,000 square foot County Central Complex building at 2001 College Drive in Lake Havasu City. I believe we also have a slide which shows the building completion. This competitively bid project was awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, Canyon State Enterprises, LLC of Kingman. And the project scope of work entailed exterior painting of all building stucco surfaces and metal canopy, coupled with painting of building appurtenances, including exterior doors, masonry block walls, handrails, and bollards. The exterior painting project totaled $25,680 and was completed within budget and within the specified contract time of completion. And you'll see displayed photos of the finished exterior painting project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Layton. Any questions? I'd like to say we appreciate Public Works getting on these. I know in the past we didn't have the money and we deferred a lot of maintenance, and you guys keeping up on this will obviously save us some money.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all for the county managers?
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
I have a couple of presentations. If take the two board members would join me out in front.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we just have the item to approve prior minutes.
Awful pushy for a deputy county manager. So.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of previous session.
Have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
time to recognize Pat Alexander, Administrative Supervisor for Public Works, Economic Development, and Development Services. Pat will be retiring from the county after 17 years of service. Pat's held the position of temporary office clerk, senior secretary for Dick Skalitzky, administrative supervisor for DCM Mike Hendricks. Pat is not assisting the Economic Development Department, managing franchise licenses, or acquiring project properties. She fulfills her administrative supervisor responsibilities, coordinating the activities of 24 administrative staff. Pat has been an ambassador and role model throughout her career with Mohave County, exemplifying what it means to be a public servant and always striving for excellence in customer service in all her activities. Pat has faithfully been the face and voice of one of the largest areas of our organization. We're truly going to miss Pat. We wish you the best in your next endeavors, and we know that without you, Mike and Dick never would have got the job done. God has worked for Mohave County Probation and support staff for over 16 years, joining the department in December of 1995. Initially working reception, she later transferred to the pre-sentencing unit, where she worked for over 13 years, helping in the production of nearly 10,000 reports. For the past 2 years, she has been involved in the treatment unit, helping that program continue to do its vital work despite multiple supervisor changes. Conscientious, concerned, and professional, Susie is simply a first-class human being, much loved by her co-workers, and always there when you need her. Her time of probation, though long, seems to have passed so quickly, and she will be sorely missed as she moves on to her much well-deserved retirement. Susie has said it has been a great experience and pleasure to work for and with Mohave County Probation. That feeling is certainly mutual with the probation department and Mohave County. Thank you very much. Without objections from the county manager, we'll move on to the consent agenda, items 5 through 67. Supervisor Watson, anything you'd like to pull?
Nothing.
Supervisor Sockwell.
I'd like to pull item 23, 31, and 47.
All right. I have a couple I'd like to pull, 18, 20, 36, 45, and 54. Check 1 second, make sure 54 is on there. Yes. So I need a motion to approve the consent minus items 18, 20, 23, 31, 36, 45, 47, 54.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same motion carries. First item will be item number 18. Accept the 2012 in-kind donations of $43,994.09 from the Senior Center and nonprofit site organizations. And it includes $35,993.23 from the Lake Havasu, $5,022.13 from Golden Shores, and also oh, that 5,000 was from Lake Havasu, $2,495.31 is Golden Shores. Kingman is $483.42. Do I have a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and second. Is Patty Mead here? Is she gonna, can she address this? The reason I pulled this off, Patty, was we, obviously our senior programs use all the help we can get, and I thought maybe just go over these donations and tell us exactly what it's used for and how that offsets the cost to the taxpayers.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Watson, Supervisor Sockwell. Yes, as you know, senior programs has been in trouble the last few years financially, as well as the fact that we seem to be growing a number of homebound clients and congregate meals that we serve. So our site councils definitely help us in managing the budgets in each of those areas. The Lake Havasu Site Council provides us with money for food, electricity, those kinds of things. They pay half of our utility bills every month. They've given us a tremendous amount this last year. The Site Council in Kingman is a new site council, so they have relatively very little money yet, but they're trying to help as much as they can, and the Golden Shore Site Council helps us as well. So we really couldn't do it without them. They're terrific partners.
Thank you, that's all. I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to thank those organizations. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second motion?
A motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 20 is approving a contract with Western Arizona Council of Governments. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Second.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I pulled this off the agenda. Is Ms. Durant, oh, Patty, are you going to do this? The reason I pulled this off is I'm happy to see that the county went out and got this extra money. The reason I believe you got this money, I guess you could explain it, was that Bullhead City went to WACOG and got more money because they were having problems running the senior nutrition over there, and I believe that if they get the money, we should get it, and you guys went and got it, so maybe you can just explain what that money's going to be used for.
Yes, sir. Once again, it is to offset our increasing growing number of people in our homebound and congregate meals. Although WACOG itself has put a limit on adding any more homebound clients to the list for Mohave County and Yuma County. This still helps us get through the remainder of the budget year with an even budget, a zero balance budget. So we're really happy about that. And then I also have good news. They gave us another $100,000 for next year for our budget. WACOG just let us know that a couple weeks ago, so that will be on a board agenda for July. Good news.
That's outstanding. Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Second the motion?
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Next item is item number 23, approve the award of contract 12-B-07 Colorado River Boys and Girls Club. Have a motion for discussion on this item?
Motion for discussion.
Second the motion?
We have a motion and a second. Supervisor Sockwell?
Mr. Chairman, I pulled this off because the money that they're using for the Boys and Girls Club is dollars that I donated from my CDBG funds to the tune of $113,000. I just wanted to, we hear so many things about there's not a good relationship between the county and Bullhead City. I just wanted everyone to know that I did donate this money, and the Boys and Girls Club is a city building. With that, I make a motion to approve.
Second the motion?
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 31 is the approving a modified award contract 11-B-10-01 for fleet vehicles to Bradley Ford and Lake Havasu City. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion for discussion.
Second?
Motion and a second. Supervisor Sockwell?
Mr. Chairman, I also pulled this off because this came up the other day at a forum about the fact that the local car dealers and everything they didn't feel like they were getting their fair share of the automobile purchases and everything. I I wanted to pull this off and let people know that yes, we have to go with a low bidder on automobile purchases, And so I just wanted to know that when they are a low bidder, they get the contract. And with that, I make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Just to add to that, I believe we had a bidder that dropped out, and actually Bradley was good enough to honor the bid that they'd given us previously at the same amount of money, so we thank Bradley for doing that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item number 36 is approve a contract, intergovernmental agreement between the State of Arizona Economic Security and Mohave County Workforce Investment Act Youth and Dislocated Workers, increasing the contract ceiling by $1,619,530 from $2,912,990 to $532,520. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion for discussion.
Second the
We have
motion.
a motion and a second. Mr. Ranso, Deputy County Manager Duranzo, could you come up and, this is quite an increase in money. Can you tell us exactly what you'll be doing with these funds?
Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Watson, and Supervisor Sockwell, good morning. It is a good news for us. We've been following all the budget hearings in Washington, D.C., and all along we've been given news that it would have a decrease in funding for our workforce investment programs. Fortunately, when we were awarded a contract for fiscal year 2013, we had a little increase in our funding. So we are now given an additional $1.6 million for the Mohave La Paz local workforce investment area. Now, please remember that we also serve La Paz County with these funds that we receive because we are a consortium. But basically, these funds are going to be for our adult program, youth program, and dislocated workers program. What we do is we provide employment and training services for our adults year-round. We do have a youth program year-round and a summer program, widely known as the Coyote program. We also have now the dislocated workers program, and we assist people that are being laid off. We assist them for further training and job search for our area. In this time of the economy, I think these funds will be well served to help Mohave and La Paz in their workforce investment program. So we're going to be using them to provide individual training accounts for them, support services, transportation, a job service, and anything that would land them in a job in our area. We're also working closely with our employers because even if we train these people, if we don't have jobs, then we can't connect and place them. So we're also trying to get apprenticeship programs in our area so that some of these people that we are training will land on a job in our area. So $1.6 million is good for Mohave and La Paz local workforce investment area.
That's good. Are there any questions, Mr. Ranso?
Nope.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Motion for approval.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign, motion carries. Yeah, it looks like I pulled 45. I haven't the slightest idea why. I must have missed the wrong number somehow. I would make a motion to approve item number 45.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item number 47 is, no. All right. Approve an addendum to existing intergovernmental agreement between Mohave County and the Arizona Department of Fire, Building, and Life Safety. Have a motion for discussion?
Motion for discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Second.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I also pulled this as another demonstration that Mohave County and Bullhead City are working together. Bullhead City is assuming the inspection of mobile homes as for the state. And also, I might include the fact that we are doing a lot of building inspection in the Bullhead City area for the city. So everything is working. It's a lot of it is what I consider propaganda. Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second the
We
motion.
have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 54, to have a motion for discussion approving Mohave County Library District's annual Staff Development Day for September 28, 2012.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I pulled this off. There was no backup to show exactly what all employees of the library district were going to be doing that day.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the new library director, Danielle Kroll, would address that with the board.
Good morning, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, and Supervisor Watson. I'm delighted to be here. I'm going on my 3rd week on the job. I have met with our key management staff. We will be having a meeting with the Staff Association to discuss some potential topics. As you know, historically, the library has been closed for one day to provide training for all staff. We do close our libraries. We have selected Fridays because that is the least used day of the week, and it does not have an impact. It has the least impact on our service area. Quite a number of libraries within our district are closed on Fridays. Some of the suggestions that I have for staff training would be to have a outside speaker come in to discuss the best practices in librarianship, because we have seen terrific sweeping changes in libraries around the country, and what is driving that change is technology. So that will be one of my recommendations to staff, best practices, and also to review customer service skills and communication. Last year, the staff had training on team building, and they also spent a lot of time learning about the other divisions, the back of the house functions. Again, it's all about what do we need to hone our skills and to provide stellar customer service to our customers. So I will be meeting with the staff in the next 2 weeks on the topic for September 28th. May I answer any other questions?
Any questions from the board members?
So,
The only question I have, and I brought it up before, is I have a problem with us shutting down all of our libraries. I think especially the 3 major libraries need to be staying open, especially in this economy. It's about the only entertainment some people have are citizens to go to, but that's the only reason
Yeah, and I
don't
just
like
want to
that.
comment that in some libraries around the country are actually closed twice during the year to provide staff day, because training and consistency in offering service is so important in libraries, and that's what it's all about. It's very difficult to get over 100 people together to hear the same message.
That kind of seems like we're doing it like the school district does when they just decide to close.
In-service training for teachers.
In-service training. I mean, if we're going to be meeting with people to try to give better service, I would think that we could keep it open on a skeleton staff or however we do it, and rotate every other year for those people in, because we're taking a day away from the taxpayer who pays for that for our people to close the library. That's just my opinion. But
Well, thank you for your comment, and I'll be looking at a lot of things in our organization. Thank you.
thank you.
Good luck on your new profession.
Do we have a motion on item number 54?
motion to approve.
Second the motion?
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to item number 68. It's open public hearing, discussion, possible action, approve a cable television system license agreement with NPG Cable. It is a public hearing. I'm opening the public hearing. Does anybody like to address the board? See no one, I will close the public hearing. What
My
is-
motion to approve.
Second the motion?
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number going to the regular agenda. Item number 69, discussion and possible action on approval of rescheduling of the October 1st, 2012 Board of Supervisors meeting due to a conflict with the County Supervisors Association Legislative Summit. Supervisor Watson, yeah, you have a motion?
Motion for discussion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Supervisor Watson?
Basically, this is just a house cleaning item, so those could attend the CSA Legislative Summit in Sierra Vista on October 1st. That will necessitate the change for a regular board meeting.
Do we have a date Ms. Bracken?
I'm looking at October 9th or October 15th. October 15th is already scheduled for a BOE if need be, so that might be a good date.
That work?
15th's fine with me.
15th work for you, Supervisor Stockwell? 15th work for you also?
15th will work for me, yes.
Do I have a motion to move the meeting to October 15th, 2012?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 70 is discussion possible action with the exception of bona fide official emergency situations. Prior approval from the Board of Supervisors shall be required for communications from the county manager or deputy county managers to or about other government entities or officials. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion for discussion?
Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of second. Item number 71, discussion possible action, adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolution 2012-055, petitioning the Governor of Arizona to establish a constitutional permanent Division 7 of the Superior Court in and for Mohave County as effective January 1st, 2013. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion for discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I do have someone signed up for this. Miss Nancy E. Mongel?
Good morning, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, and Supervisor Watson. I am here on behalf of the Community Advisory Board, and I'm going to read a letter from them. The Mohave County Community Advisory Board, also known as CAB, is composed of private citizens, community members from all walks of life, who have accepted the task of advising and assisting the Mohave County Probation Department on issues of community concern, focusing on juvenile issues. It is the CAB's responsibility to represent the interests of Mohave County and its communities. Our members currently reside in Kingman, Bullhead City, Lake Havasu City. The board is established with the express purpose of enhancing the effectiveness of Mohave County Probation Department in the field of juvenile justice. In light of the Superior Court's current staffing problems, and for the reasons I will outline, CAB is growing concern that the speedy and efficient delivery of services, especially to juveniles, may be adversely impacted. Last year, the National Center for the State Courts, also known as NCSC, completed a judicial workload survey of the courts in Mohave County. The NCSC study was developed on a national model that calculates the judicial needs of the Superior Court based on workload assessments and resource needs analysis. The NCSC determined that the calculated judicial demand for all court-related activities in the Superior Court is approximately 10.2 judicial officers, based on an average of the 2010 and 2011 filings. Per the NCSC, at least 2 additional judicial officers are needed to adequately handle the current workload of the Superior Court, as Mohave County only has 6 Superior Court judges assisted by 2 pro tem/commissioners. The NSCS study is supported by actual data accumulated over the last decade. Over the past decade, case filings within Mohave County have risen sharply in almost all categories. For example, civil filings have increased 87%, juvenile filings by 70%, and family law filings by 18%. Criminal filings rose about 22% from 2002 to 2007, with an intervening drop to 2002 levels. However, not surprising, considering the economy, recent court filings indicate these numbers are on the rise again. Overall, it is anticipated that in the next few years, filings will continue to increase, further overtaxing the resources of the court. Mohave County is constitutionally entitled to at least 7 Superior Court judges. Mohave County's population, based on 2010 census numbers, is 200,186. Article 6, Section 10 of the Arizona Constitution provides for one Superior Court judge for each 30,000 inhabitants or majority fraction thereof. A plain reading of this constitutional mandate would seem to indicate that Mohave County should be served by 7 Superior Court judges. Instead, we have 6. In light of the case filings outlined above and the clear findings of the NSCS study, CAB is growing increasingly concerned that Mohave County is being neglected in the area of funded judicial offices to the detriment of the community's youth. There is no good reason for Mohave County being shortchanged of its constitutionally entitled judicial officers. Other counties with both similar population numbers and similar filing numbers have far more in the way of judicial resources than Mohave County. Yavapai County has a population of 211,000 and is blessed with 10 judicial positions, 7 Superior Court judges, 2 full-time judge pro tems, and 1 full-time commissioner. Yuma County, with a population of 195,000, has 9 judicial positions, 6 Superior Court judges, and 3 full-time commissioners/judge pro tems. Mohave County also has logistical demands placed on its judiciary not faced by similarly situated courts. Mohave County is geographically the 5th largest county in the United States. Mohave County has 3 main geographically dispersed population centers: Kingman, Lake Havasu City, and Bullhead City. Judges have to travel considerable distances to meet caseload demands, further taxing court time when it comes to providing services to the public. This simple fact indicates that Mohave County should have at least the same number of judicial offices as similarly situated counties. Inexplicably, we do not. The presiding judge has reassigned the criminal workload to 3 judicial offices to ensure the efficient and timely handling of these constitutionally critical matters. This hampers the Superior Court's ability to timely process other cases that also have statutory or rule-specific time limits. For example, additional judicial resources are needed to ensure timely temporary order hearings in domestic cases, process preliminary injunctions in civil cases, complete order to show cause hearings, ensure mental health commitments, complete juvenile delinquency initial appearances, and to ensure dependency hearings meet statutory timeframes and other similar matters. Finally, the Mohave County has recently greatly expanded its jail facilities, and staffing increased incarceration means increased demand on the time of prosecutors, defense attorneys, and obviously the court. It makes no financial sense to jail more people but not directly address the issue of processing those arrested. Based on the foregoing, the Community Advisory Board respectfully requests that the Governor and the Mohave County Board of Supervisors create another judicial division. Another elected judge that is responsible directly to the electorate would be a tremendous boon to this county and help address the need to provide efficient and effective judicial resources to our dependent and delinquent youth. Thank you very much for your consideration and my long-winded explanation.
I have some questions. You're talking about these outlying areas. It's my understanding we don't have Superior Court judges going to Yucca or Golden Shores or Beaver Dam, Littlefield. So this traveling you're talking about refers to what?
Bullhead City, Lake Havasu City, and Kingman.
They already have courts there. So you're talking about their traveling schedule. I don't see where they're...
But the judges have to travel, correct?
Well, the way they're set up now, that's how they set their own. And you're also talking about juvenile, and there's a backlog or something about that. Isn't there only one judge assigned to juveniles?
No. Is it all right if the...
Well, I mean, you made these statements. You were standing in front of me making these statements. Is this somebody else wrote this for you? This isn't something that your group put
Community
together?
Advisory Board, I wrote this on behalf of the Community Advisory Board with information from the presiding justice.
Sure, that's fine then, ma'am. I thought this was all yours. Sure. I have no other questions of you then. I'll take it up with these gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Judge Girdler.
Good morning, Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Sockwell, Supervisor Watson. May it please the Chairman, honorable board members, administration, and council. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time addressing the statutory and constitutional basis for the division nor the NCSC study. Rather, I would like to address some of the practical concerns as well as the budgetary concerns with respect to the 7th Division. As Ms. Monjo was specifying, my predecessor, Judge Weiss, when he was a presiding judge, moved one of the 3 criminal judges to handling domestic relations and juvenile cases. And the reason for that was because of the great increase in those cases that we have experienced over the last several years. This then further allowed judges to address other issues such as the civil cases, which had also greatly increased. At the time, it looked like a wise decision, given the burgeoning caseloads in those specific areas, and the criminal caseloads were not tremendously increasing at that point in time. Likewise, the dependency cases were increasing tremendously. However, that had a net negative impact on the court proceedings. And I think this was best brought out by the jail commander, Bruce Brown, at a Criminal Justice Coordinating Council meeting. He had referenced that we were not meeting self-imposed deadlines with respect to the criminal cases when we had only 2 criminal judges. One of the first things I had completed when I took over as the presiding judge was to move Judge Williams back to primarily handling criminal cases. Commander Brown referenced that they had been tracking when the hearings were being conducted in those matters. We had created 10 years ago self-imposed deadlines with respect to turning around and processing the criminal cases. The initial hearings were to be 30 days within incarceration in order to set deadlines with respect to plea deals, discovery, and trying to set trials. Needless to say, Commander Brown referenced that we had moved up to 45 days for those initial hearings. In addition, the plea deal dates, deadlines by which a potential defendant would enter into a plea were back down. Trial dates were back down. What was the net effect of this? We had jail inmates that were staying in the jail for longer periods of time, and that obviously comes as a tremendous cost to the county. By moving to a 3rd judge, Commander Brown indicated that he saw that we moved back from hearings every 45 days back to our self-imposed deadline of 30 days. Obviously, if we are able to have hearings whereby, inmates in the jail either reach a plea deal and end up being placed on probation and taken out of the jail, or conversely sent down to the Department of Corrections that gets them out of the jail, and that's a cost savings to the county. Another issue, though, that we have seen and Commander Brown had commented on was that they understand and know that this has a trickle-down effect. In other words, given our judicial resources, when we took one judge away from the criminal cases, that severely impacted the criminal cases. However, now that I've placed one of the judges back within the realm of handling the criminal cases, that means our domestic relations cases, our juvenile delinquency, and juvenile dependency cases are severely impacted. And to probably illustrate the point best, I don't think anybody in this auditorium would bat an eye if a criminal defendant in a drug paraphernalia possession case asked for a 3-day jury trial. However, within the context of our domestic relations cases, when we have to complete temporary custody hearings within 30 days of the filing of a petition for temporary custody by a parent, when we conduct those hearings, we are giving parents 15 to 30 minutes to tell us which parent should have the child. And they're going to have that child probably for 6, 9, or 12 months until they can get to a final hearing. And that is just simply patently wrong. And in many instances, we have allegations of one parent or both parents using illegal drugs. And yet we're giving them 15 minutes, but we'll give a defendant a 3-day jury trial for a drug paraphernalia case. Again, that is just simply wrong. And within the context of those domestic relations cases, It's important for us to have sufficient time to conduct those hearings because many cases there in the domestic relations realm would otherwise probably end up within the dependency cases. And I'm sure that Deputy County Manager Hilvak can indicate the growing increase in the budget with respect to having to pay for attorneys in the dependency cases. You have to have an attorney for the child, you have to have an attorney for the mother, and you have to have an attorney for the father. And in many instances, there is more than one father that's involved in these dependency cases. How do we turn around and keep those cases out of the dependency realm? By having sufficient testimony at a temporary custody hearing, we can order a parent to be drug tested. We can order them to drug or alcohol counseling. We can order them to domestic violence or anger management counseling. We can order them and provide them with parenting classes. There are many instances that we are able to turn around and keep what otherwise would be a dependency case out of the dependency realm by helping them with services within the context of our domestic relations cases. These are the areas that are being impacted the most. We have judges that have to travel significantly amongst the communities in order to turn around and handle the different cases. As an example, Judge Weiss will be traveling from Kingman to Bullhead City in order to turn around and handle the juvenile delinquency cases, the drug court, and dependency cases. He similarly travels to Lake Havasu City to handle the delinquency, dependency, and drug court cases. However, given the fact that he is running approximately 1.4 of a caseload, almost 1.5 judges worth of caseload, I will be taking on his juvenile delinquency cases in Bullhead City. The Supreme Court tells us that the presiding judge should not have more than 50% of a normal caseload. I will be running 75% of a caseload. All of the judges are handling caseloads in excess of one judge caseload. We need to be able to service specifically the disciplines of the domestic relations cases, with respect to the dependency cases, and with respect to the juvenile delinquency and drug court cases. From a budgetary standpoint, we requested that we move this issue 60 days to address any budget concerns. We met with county administration. County administration and the courts agreed upon a 3% cut, which is what administration wanted every department to turn around and give. Not only were we able to give the 3% cut, but we are not requesting any additional general funds for Division 7. As indicated within the packet, we were able to obtain a grant from the state of Arizona with respect to handling the Title IV-D cases. And these are the cases whereby the state is seeking reimbursement for funds that it turns around and pays to single parents because the other parent is not contributing child support. I know there is always a concern with respect to the supervisors that, gee, it's a grant, is it going to run out? Yavapai County has been receiving these grant funds for 15 years. There's no indication that these grant funds have a sunset. For years, county administration has been requesting Verlin Tennell to utilize a fund that she has approximately $50,000 in. Our clerk has worked very well with us. She has agreed that we can take $25,000 from that fund for this fiscal year, as well as next fiscal year, also to help fund Division 7. And the reason for that is that these funds are very limited. They can only be applied by statute or rule with respect to handling child support cases, the primary goal of what our new division will be handling. In addition, we have lateral transfers within our budget. We had a field trainer position that was funded through the AOC in the amount of $27,700. We're not going to turn around and place that position. Rather, we were going to utilize those funds to help pay for Division 7. In addition, the mediation supervisor, I let go last March, that came at a savings to the county in the amount of $20,000. And rather than utilize those budgetary funds towards a supervisor, which I have appointed our presiding judge of the Domestic Relations Court, Julie Roth, to be the supervisor of mediation, we would likewise utilize those funds towards the new division. Those funds were not part of the agreed-upon 3% cut that we had with administration. Essentially, when we met with administration concerning the budget issues, their motto for this fiscal year was, do less with less. I am sorry, but we cannot do less with respect to our constituents. So what the court has done is we're going to do less internally for ourselves in order so that we can do more for our constituents with the 7th Division. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions this time, or do you want to hear from our staff?
Have done.
No, I don't have any questions.
We'll probably have questions for you, Judge Gertler, as soon as we hear from our staff.
Thank you.
Chairman Johnson, I'd ask Mr. Timko to address any of the financial ramifications. I believe he's had an opportunity to review the proposal that Mr. Anderson and Presiding Judge Gertler have prepared, reference how to pay for the division.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, supervisors, staff. Let me start by saying I don't have a dog in the fight one way or the other, whether we have 7 judges or 10. I do have a dog in the fight with the budget, and in that regard, need to correct the impression that the judge had when we had our budget meetings. As presented in the backup for this material, the courts are asking for $312,000 of general fund to be spent on adding this court. That comes from the fact that the position in mediation, which was cut during the budget, they said they would like to save that money to help fund Division 7. We said that that was not possible, that we needed to reduce the general fund contribution to the mediation program, as well as the other general fund cuts that were being made. So that money was already off the table at their budget hearing. The $76,000 savings that's attributed to the head of the mediation, therefore, should be considered new general fund. They have already demonstrated in their own proposal that that's a position that is no longer required for that supervision. That division is primarily supported by general fund contribution, and so that savings should be considered as general fund support. In addition, the $76,000 that is talked about from Title 4D is in no way dependent on the decision to hire another judge. These are funds that, as the judge rightly pointed out, another county has been receiving for 15 years. I would ask why we haven't for the past 15 years. And the fact that we could receive them for the next 15 years has nothing to do whatsoever with a decision to add another judge. And the final $165,000 of general funds being requested for this is for remodeling a room in the Lake Havasu facility to become the courtroom for that facility. In their proposal, they pointed out 2 other funds that will be contributing $150,000 each toward the capital costs, and then they're requesting $165,000 of general funds to complete the $465,000 remodeling. I would point out that funds that the court has that they're specifically identifying as available for this purpose, and other funds, specifically the Superior Court local filled gap funds, leave the Superior Court with $1,242,000, which they could apply to this $600,000 remodeling job without the use of general fund money. I guess in summarizing, I would say that I'm not opposed or for adding another judicial court. I'm just against taking on a $300,000 general fund commitment in a budget year where we're asking the sheriff to look at cutting over $1 million from patrol services in order for us to balance the budget. We have not balanced the budget yet. We are proposing alternatives that will allow us to balance the budget, but this $300,000 will make the problem more difficult rather than easier. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Timko? I don't know if you can answer this if this comes into your realm, but don't we have a court building over in Bullhead that's been used by Superior Court before? We don't, not that I don't want another court down in Lake Havasu, we'd enjoy having it, but without spending more money, isn't there one that is available in Bullhead?
It's my understanding there are 3 courtrooms in the building and 2 judges.
No other questions, Deputy County Manager?
Mr. Timko, if I just ask you a question, one of the commissioner positions is totally, the courts is totally grant or general funded at this point?
That's correct.
If that division became a constitutional division, what would the impact be on our general fund?
The initial impact would be that since the Arizona Office of the Courts pays half of the salaries of elected Superior Court judges, and we pay 100% of the salaries of commissioners, changing a commissioner to an elected judge would save us approximately $68,500 per year.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Before you step down, I don't know if John knows this, or have our side done I've seen some numbers on, but lack of a better word, judicial credits, the statements that Judge Gertler was giving and the lady before him on how the workload, the cases have gone up. The ones I've seen, the case level has gone down. Is somebody prepared to address that issue?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I can address that. Thank you, Mr. Timko.
Thank you, Mr. Timko.
There's no further questions. Chairman Johnson, Supervisor Watson, Supervisor Sockwell, Judge Gertler expressed the position very well, and I think the NCSC study documents that proportionately to other counties, our judges have a higher caseload ratio, workload ratio than those counties. He correctly discussed the perspective of the Constitution and statutes and the requirements for, or suggested requirements for an additional constitutional division at approximately the 195,000 population level, which we are in fact in excess of. The caseload issue, we had tremendous caseload growth from roughly 2002 through 2007. Since 2007, the caseloads have declined. Currently, or in the past calendar year in 2011, we were in fact at caseloads which were below 2003 levels. We did add a commissioner in 2007, and frankly, that may have had a lot to do with the court's ability to process. I don't think it's appropriate to say, well, great, caseloads are down, we have no problem, both from my perspective and I think Judge Gertler's and Mr. Anderson's. There is a slight uptick. I don't know that it's been enough to establish as a definite pattern, but certainly we all expect with the economic recovery there will be an increase in case filings. That being said, we're often asked to run government like a business, and if this were a pure business decision, we would be investing money with no hard return. We're not going to get additional fees, additional fines, at least nothing quantifiable. What we are going to get is a societal benefit, one which is extremely hard to measure. That being said, I think we do have an obligation to try to provide that societal benefit. However, this is the year where we're asking everybody to cut. We've cut from our elected clerk of the court, Verlin Tennell. We've cut from our elected county attorney, Matt Smith. We've asked our elected sheriff to take upwards of $1 million in cuts. We've cut indigent defense. We have cut literally everywhere. The reason I asked Mr. Timko about the question of taking the current commissioner position, which is in fact general funded, and simply moving that into that funding into a constitutional division is in fact that move saves us $65,000 to $68,000. I think if we did that, the general fund would actually benefit. Now, that in and of itself doesn't solve the request from Judge Gertler. Basically, they currently have 6 constitutional divisions, 2 commissioners. Simply taking one of those commissioners and making it a constitutional division still leaves them with 8 total judicial officers. I think if the board were to support that movement of the commissioner, general funded commissioner, to a constitutional division, we would also have to support the subsequent creation of an additional commissioner slot. However, as Mr. Timko pointed out, there's a significant amount of money in non-general funds available from which the court could actually fund that with no impact on the general fund. Now, they would run the same risk that non-general fund grants, fees, fines, whether it's court enhancement, fill the gap, or law library funds, could ultimately run out. But the reality is our other commissioner is in the same position right now. That's funded through drug court grants and other things that could run out. It would solve the short-term problem, provide Judge Gertler and the judiciary with the additional constitutional division, but require them essentially to fund the additional commissioner slot and ultimately save the general fund additional money.
Any questions? I guess one of the things I have of you and obviously Timko, I don't know if you need to come up, just basically a statement is, we're doing something before our budget is being presented to us, and we're trying to obligate funds. We're going to have funds on other departments when the budget process comes up. I think we need to be very careful on how we, give money away before the final budget is done. Is that correct, Mr. Timko? I mean,
Mr. Chairman, that is correct, and quite frankly, they're not even asking for this judicial officer to start until January, so I'm not sure what the real hurry is to get this approved before the budget is seen in total.
And Mr. Chairman, just to stand up for Judge Gertler, it is a process where we have to petition the governor has to approve, and that could take up to 6 months. The reason I've put forward my proposal is essentially it creates a better financial position than even we anticipated coming out of the budget negotiations.
do we have any questions of Judge Gertler?
No, I have no questions. Mr.
Questions,
Chairman.
Judge Gertler?
I just have a couple questions, maybe Judge Gertler could answer them. As far as quantifying the dollars that we would save by having the new judge to decrease the number of days that the people are held in jail prior to their hearings, have you done any kind of analytical analysis that the type of dollars we're looking at, volume dollars?
We have not had the opportunity, given the fact that the judicial assignment change occurred in late February, early March, and some of the effective dates of the changes did not occur until June 1st, so we have not had an opportunity to be able to quantify that. However, I would certainly like to address the budget issue because I find it absolutely amazing the fact that the court was able to save the county $20,000 this fiscal year is now being used against us with respect to the request for the use of the funds that would otherwise be in our budget next year. It is simply a lateral transfer. But because the court had terminated the mediation supervisor last year to save funds this year, that is now being counted against us because you don't need that position. That's entirely incorrect. The position is needed. However, we have to look out, number one, for our constituents, and that literally is the litigants before us, whether it's a criminal defendant, whether it's family members in a domestic relations case, whether it's someone that's been injured as an allegation of medical malpractice or some type of construction defect. We have to look out, number one, for all of our constituent clients. And even though this is a need, the mediation supervisor is a need, we would rather take it on internally, burden our judges more, in order to turn around and better provide to the constituents. If we weren't seeking the new division, in this year's budget, you would be looking at that same $70,000 being applied towards hiring a new mediation supervisor. And that would still be in the budget after our meeting with administration, where the court gave its 3% cut. So to turn around and say that you're asking for new general fund monies, as I would refer to it, it is literally a lateral transfer of general fund monies that would have been in the budget after cuts in any event. Number one. Number two, with respect to the case filings, okay, if we were looking at our 2007 and 2008 cases, the study would have indicated that we needed approximately 13 judges. I wouldn't be here asking for one. I'd be here asking for 3. I'm asking for 1 to take us to 9 when we need over 10 judges. And with respect to the case filings that we have this year, based upon projections given our filings to date, if they continue in the route that they're going, and there's no way to say that they're going to stay at this route, they may go down, they may increase. But based upon projections, we are looking at going from 1,675 criminal cases to 1,892. We're looking at going from domestic relations cases of 1,801 to 1,833. Our juvenile cases, 1,267 to 1,358. Our probation cases, 684 up to 832. This does not include the adult drug court, which has recently been established and will take on more people as we continue to develop that program. Doesn't include the juvenile drug court program, which is in all 3 cities right now. The bottom line is the filings are going up. We're already behind the 8 ball, and we're to the point of literally scratching on the 8 ball unless we turn around and get this new division. You know, Mr. Timko also addressed the next item that we have on the agenda, and I will certainly be more than happy to address that item. However, you know, for all intents and purposes, you know, I would keep my comments to the item that's appropriately before the board.
Yeah, let's stay on this one. Is there any other questions? You have anything else to say, Judge Gertler?
Well, the fact that we're looking for January 1 of 2013, as Deputy County Manager Hilvak has indicated, it is a process. You know, if this board approves the resolution, it then has to go to the governor. The governor will certainly turn around and do her due diligence, you know, conduct her investigation, whether she uses the local court committee to obtain applications and do the interviews for her. She may use her own committee with respect to doing that. We envision that it will take a significant period of time before we actually have the appointment. The other reason for that is, and to some extent, this is somewhat tied into the development of the Lake Havasu courtroom. But again, I don't want to address that until we get to that specific board item unless the supervisors grant me that permission.
Any other questions, Supervisor Watson?
No other questions.
Supervisor Sockwell?
Mr. Chairman, I have listened to both sides of the issue. I have talked personally to both sides of the issue. I do believe the courts feel that they are quite confident that they can make their plan work. Therefore, I'm going to make a motion that we approve item 71.
I'll second the motion for the approval of item 71.
Motion is second. I do have some questions. Does the court system, do you have any night courts to alleviate some of the strain you're talking about on the public, not so much on the judges? Are there any night courts run in our county?
We do not have night court. You would be looking at the same issue. You would still be looking at 8 judicial officers attempting to do over 10 judges' work, regardless if you had court cases during the day or the court cases at night.
But see, I guess that's what always gets me, especially with, and I'm not picking on you or anybody else, basically.
Well, thank you.
The attorney profession. Because we have public defender's office who comes and says, oh, we get laws to say those guys can only do so much work or we have to hire more people. Now we have, and I'm not saying that your numbers aren't great, but oh, we need more judges. But you don't see the sheriff coming and saying, I mean, if he has 20 calls one night or 50 calls, he doesn't come to us saying, I have to have more people. I mean, they do the job with the people they have. When we elect a judge, and when we do these, I was here last time that we put the extra judge in, and we appoint them. To me, it would make more sense to say, if you need a judge, we would put it on the ballot, not this time, but in 2 years' time, and let the public actually have their input into who's elected, because once these judges, they always seem to fall in between times, and we appoint them, and I'll be darned, but they never lose an election. Not saying that any of them should lose an election. I'm not saying that, but
There have been judges that have lost elections.
Right, but we appoint these people, and it kind of gives them a leg up. The other thing I'm thinking is when we elect a judge, I mean, give you an example, we elected a judge from Lake Havasu. I actually thought that would be in my nativity, that would be our judge. That I would go down there when I got, you know, a felony complaint and when I had a divorce and when I had all those things. I didn't know that judges were all specialists. When we elect a judge from, say, Bullhead City or of these cities, they don't serve that city. I mean, we still have to drive to Kingman for services. I mean, I think that's a problem, especially we're a rural county, and having a judge that you can go down there, I think that would, you know, obviously I'm not a judge and I haven't sat through all the cases, but one judge can stand and say, yeah, I'll handle a juvenile case, I'm done with him, now I will handle the divorce, and I realize they have to read things, but I guess that's why you went to law school, but that's my...
I'll be more than happy to answer the question if that's
Sure,
a question.
go right ahead.
Okay. Number one, there are now requirements by the Supreme Court with respect to the handling of certain judicial disciplines. In other words, I could not step in immediately and handle dependency cases. I would have to take required Supreme Court additional training in dependency cases, rather than turn around and have every single judge go through dependency training, which takes all the judicial officers off the bench. We have turned around and focused on having 2, 3 judges take the dependency training. Those judges then handle the dependency cases. We have one judge primarily handling all dependency cases right now, and that's Judge Weiss. However, we have Judge Williams and Judge Roth who have completed the mandatory dependency cases so that they can cover when Judge Weiss is gone. You know, this is one of the particular reasons. Probate matters, given the issues that occurred in Maricopa County over the last 2 years with respect to probate matters and adult protective services and the guardianships, there's now mandatory classes that a judge has to take before they can take the probate matters. Judge Bartlett, Judge Jansen, and myself have completed that training. You know, will we continue to have judges take the training as it comes on board so that we can diversify? Absolutely. Absolutely. However, as it sits here today, we need to be able to help our constituents. I don't think that taking Judge Williams away from criminal cases benefits the county. I don't think that taking Judge Kahn away from criminal cases benefits the county. It just simply doesn't. And with respect to, you know, the initial or election of these judges, that is the way the legislature has created the process. The governor appoints the judge. Bottom line. That judge has to run for election in the first general election after appointment. That's
Right,
a
but
legislative
they're only
scheme.
appointed when we ask them. We could say, no, we'd rather wait till election and let 2 or 5 or however many people run for the job that wants to. Now, how does La Paz get by with only having limited judges
Well,
down
here,
there?
this is another very significant issue. You know, they only have 1 judge down in La Paz County. When that judge has conflicts, guess who has to handle their conflicts? It's Mohave County.
Right,
Mohave
those are
County.
conflicts. How does he handle juveniles?
The caseload down there does not equate to what the caseload is in Mohave County.
Right, but he does all that, or?
He does all of that, but you know, are you going to, Supervisor Johnson, Chairman Johnson, are you going to advocate the jail taking inmates out of the jail and transporting them to Bullhead City or to Kingman, or excuse me, to Lake Havasu City for, say, Judge Bartlett or myself to handle that criminal case? That does not make any sense. It is a cost to the county, and it is a potential, you know, threat with having to transport these people. We have issues with respect to transporting from the jail to the court here in Kingman. It is compounded if we would have to transfer the jail to Lake Havasu or to Bullhead City. And the La Paz County issue is a significant issue. Judge Burke, the only judge in La Paz County, is retiring this year. He reaches the mandatory age limit, and as a result of that, they will be having a new judge appointed by the governor in that county. Who do you think will be handling the conflict cases and the overflow cases, as well as any of the issues while the new judge is being appointed or is appointed in La Paz County? That falls upon Mohave County. We are looking at a significant issue here that we're going to have to tax our local resources to not only handle the issues of the Mohave County constituents, but we're also going to have to help out with respect to the La Paz County matters, given Judge Burke's retirement.
Well, I'm obviously, I don't know if we have to do the whole thing, but they split from Yuma. I would think Yuma would be the one responsible for providing judges. And I don't mind if we have to pay because we use their judge when we have conflicts. But you're talking about transportation of prisoners to and from court. I've sat here at this board when the courts have come and go, you know, we really need this new video conferencing and video trials, and we're going to do all that. But I don't see them using it. And I know you're probably going to tell me because I hear, well, some of the attorneys don't like it. Once again, we have these attorneys who don't like it. But they have their little group here in Mohave County. Well, maybe they ought to start thinking about saving the taxpayers some money by saying, we can do video conferencing, because whether a guy is sitting in the courtroom, we're not going to take away his rights. I mean, if he has to be there for a photo lineup or whatever, but I mean, we have a lot of things in place where I don't think we have to transport the prisoners every time. Plus, everybody in the rest of the United States transports prisoners.
We do use video conferencing. It is primarily handled at the Justice Court level because the Justice Court is where the first initial hearing occurs. And that happens at the Lake Havasu substation. It happens at the Mohave Valley substation. It happens through Lake Havasu City. The local justices of the peace here in Kingman likewise have been using and utilizing video conferences. We utilize video conferences during the weekends. Deputy County Manager Lebach has been helpful with respect to setting it up with respect to the jail, not just the substations. So that has been in use, is in use, and is continuing to increase.
But not with the Superior Court, right?
With the Superior Court as well. However, again, when you're looking at some of these hearings, there is the constitutional rights that the defendant has to be present.
Well,
It's a
I
whole
guess
different ballgame.
That court that keeps giving you all these orders on everybody has to go through training could also, you know, do a ruling on these constitutional rights and say being there by video is just as good. But I guess that's my problem. I think this should go over to budget time. I don't think this is the appropriate time for us to be spending money before we've seen the numbers in front of us. I think that's basically where I'm at. I wish the Supreme Court would come down and be so adamant about collecting the $1 billion in fines that are due to the state as they are about adding more people onto the payroll. I guess that's part of my problem. But I do have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No further discussion.
Anybody going to change your mind? I have a
We
motion
could
and a-
probably ask them to work in the neighborhood of 80 hours a week and take on a double caseload.
That's not a problem for me at all, and that's not a problem for the citizens.
I didn't think it would be.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Item number 72 is discussion possible action to approve the court to engage an engineer architect to provide the architectural services, including civil, structural, mechanical, plumbing, fire protection, and electrical plans for tenant improvement of existing space, approximately 2,000 square foot in the Lake Havasu Judicial Facility for the build out of a new courtroom with funding for Superior Courts Fund 2031200. Have a motion for discussion.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Judge Gertler.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. What we are simply asking here is to utilize a portion of the funds that the court has advised administration that it is willing to help fund the build-out of a new court facility in Lake Havasu City. As Mr. Timko had indicated, the estimated costs of the build-out of the courtroom, judges' chambers, office space for the judicial assistant, courtroom clerk, and court reporter is $468,000. The Superior Court has committed to fund that with $150,000 out of our law library fund. That fund requires that it can only be utilized for court enhancement. It is a limited purpose fund. In addition, the justice courts have committed $150,000 out of their court enhancement funds as well to help fund $300,000 out of the $468,000 project. We would like, if this matter proceeds through budget and is approved, to be shovel-ready, as seems to be the appropriate nomenclature in these days with respect to a project. We have indicated, or we believe that it's going to cost approximately $50,000 for the architectural fees, and we have committed $150,000 out of the Superior Court, so we would simply like permission to utilize our funds to retain the services of an architect or engineer so that we can have plans drawn.
Do you have any questions?
No question. No questions.
Supervisor Sockwell?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve
Oh,
item
I think
72.
we have a Supervisor Sockwell, if we can. I think I have the
Oh.
county manager, you gentlemen have something you want to add to that?
Only if there are questions, Mr. Chairman. I know that this goes back to these two funds were identified, the 150,000 from two separate funds. Were part of my prior recommendation that if we can afford this, let's pay for judicial staff, which is what we really need to serve the citizens. The problem I have, and the reason I can't stand behind recommending this as staff, is we're currently in the audit for Lake Havasu City Consolidated Court. And I know Lake Havasu City Manager was here previously, Mr. Cassens. But essentially, we're looking at, is that consolidated court agreement something that the county wants to continue with? Right now in that building, there are 3 full judicial rooms. Those are used by a justice of the peace, a city magistrate, and a superior court. In Bullhead City, we have 3 courtrooms with 2 judges, a justice of the peace and a superior court judge. In Kingman, we have, I'll nominally call it 6 courtrooms, although several of them aren't really courtrooms, they're just rooms that were remodeled, and we have 6 superior court judges. Should that audit of Havasu determine that we should not continue with that consolidated court agreement because it's costing our taxpayers too much money, we'll then only have 2 judges, our Justice of the Peace and Superior Court judge, and we'll have an additional courtroom down there as well. That study is scheduled to be finished approximately September, October timeframe. OMB is on track to meet that deadline. I think it would be premature to start thinking about building more resources until we know we would need them.
Are there any questions of Deputy County Manager? I guess that's the question I have of the courts. Why are we building another court when you have a court in Bullhead?
Well, if we were to take a division, whether it's the 7th Division of the court or a pro tem to Bullhead, we believe that we would be looking at a greater cost. The reason for that is you have a courtroom, you have a jury room, and that's the extent of the available facilities in Bullhead City. You do not have space there for judges' chambers, for the judicial assistant, courtroom clerk, nor a court reporter. We would have to expand that building in order to provide the office spaces to turn around and put a full division there. What we envision the 7th Division doing, assuming that is the 7th Division well, let me back up a minute. And we have a couple of pro tems. They may or may not apply for Division 7. And let me give you an example. If Judge Roth was chosen as Division 7 would remain here in Kingman, and the family court would then turn around and ultimately be moved to Lake Havasu City. The flip side of the coin is if someone other than Judge Roth was chosen, Division 7 would go to Lake Havasu City. We envision that the new division will be housed primarily in Bullhead City. However, the judicial assistant will have to be in a current office space in Lake Havasu City while the judge is primarily in Bullhead City. And that is not a viable long-term option. It's a short-term fix. And I think the point that I'm trying to make here with respect to simply approving money that we have said that we will turn around and utilize to complete the construction, we need the plans regardless if it's approved in the budget this year, next year, or 2 years down the road. The plans are necessary. We have the funds available. The funds are designated for specific uses only, and this falls specifically within those uses.
How old is the building in Bullhead, the court?
I couldn't tell you the initial date that the court building, I can give you a guesstimate. I have been on the bench approximately 17 years, and it was built at or around that time when I was a pro tem in the juvenile court. Over the 17 years, we had one expansion, and that expansion was 6 years ago with respect to the development of the courtroom that I currently preside over.
Right, I guess where I'm going with this is we did a remodel on that. I think we even did we do some remodeling on the JPs over there also, or not?
I don't believe so, Mr. Chairman.
But when we did that, why weren't these things taken into account? Why did we make it useful? Because we have a judge going in there. I mean, it's cheaper to do something to begin with. And how come Bullhead didn't follow the recommendation because we're quoting and spending more money because, you know, the powers that be in Phoenix say we need another judge, but they also said that the model was to combine all the courts, but it seems like Havasu is the only one that's combined a court. Every time we do any other remodeling or building, we don't follow that. Do we just pick and choose exactly what we take from the Supreme Court, or what?
Lake Havasu has a consolidated court. Obviously, the North Canyon is also a consolidated court. We do not have a consolidated court with respect to Kingman and Bullhead City. I don't know that the county has ever approached either one of the cities with respect to doing a consolidation. Both the city of Kingman, the city of Bullhead City have their court facilities. They have it right on site at City Hall, where their prosecutors are at, where their defense counsel are at, where law enforcement is at, and I don't know that the county has ever, turned around and approached them. With respect to, why didn't we build out Bullhead 6 years ago so we had 2 fully functioning? Funding, bottom line. I barely was able to get enough funding for the board to complete the improvement that we did. There was not enough funding to turn around and literally outfit the other courtroom for full-time use. That courtroom has been consistently used over the last 6 years. It is constantly in use, but it is not housing a division. It will be far less burden upon the taxpayers to build out in Lake Havasu City, where we already have the shell. We have the available space with respect to a courtroom. We have the available space with respect to the office staff, and it would be a benefit to the taxpayers to simply utilize that space rather than to build out in Bullhead City. In addition, as we sit here today, the court primarily has 1.5 judges in Bullhead City. Judge Weiss comes down to Bullhead City on average 2.5 days a week to handle the overflow cases in Bullhead City. Judge Weiss travels to Havasu 1 day a week with respect to doing dependency cases, delinquencies, and drug court. We need the additional judicial help in Lake Havasu City.
Right, but it's not, I mean, I don't want to beat this dead horse, but it's not additional judicial help down there. You're just building a courtroom because all your judges travel anyway. It's not like the guy's going to be sitting there waiting for somebody to walk in and say, hey, I need to be sentenced.
But when you assign the juvenile delinquency cases to Lake Havasu City to the new judge, when you assign the juvenile dependency cases, when you do the drug court, when you assign the domestic relations cases out of Lake Havasu, all of a sudden you have another judge in Lake Havasu City. Now, is that enough for a full caseload? No. I would also envision that the new judge would probably be taking some of the domestic relations cases from Judge Williams. I mean, he is handling a full criminal caseload plus 20% of the Kingman domestic relations cases. So there is other areas that we need to turn around and address and help with respect to judicial caseload. But the primary area of concern would be Lake Havasu City.
Right. Now, you were talking about the city of Kingman and the city of Bullhead and their muni courts not being part of ours. We don't even have our JP courts in Kingman or Bullhead part of our combined court. We didn't even combine those. They're on the same building, are they?
No.
That's all I have.
There is no space for them in the existing facilities, number one. And number two, I don't believe, this takes a conjunctive effort of both the city and the county to turn around and say that your judicial resources will be in a consolidated court. It takes 2 people to dance. And what I'm hearing, Chairman Johnson, is that you would like the county to dance, but I don't know that the county has ever approached either the city of Bullhead City or the city of Kingman to see whether or not they would like to turn around and have a consolidated court.
Right, but I'm not even talking about the cities per se. You've got, right across the street, we got 2 JP courts.
That's because there's two precincts.
Then you have to drive all the way downtown to get to the Superior Court.
Correct.
And in Bullhead, you're separated also. And those 2, the building we have over here has been built since I've been in and built after Havasu. The remodel of Bullhead was done after Havasu. And at no time did the courts come and say, you know, it'd really be cost savings to combine all these, when that was sort of the directive from the Supreme Court.
Again, you're going to be looking at space issues. You're going to be looking at the similar issues with respect to, are they county employees, are they city employees? And it takes someone approaching those cities to turn around and see if they would like to do a consolidated court.
No, these are
As
justices of
it
the
is.
peace. These aren't, I'm not talking about Kathy McCoy. I'm talking about, that's good.
Judge Taylor and Judge Lambert. Right.
Yeah, I'm talking about them. They're county people.
They're county people, and they're in a county facility,
Right.
and there's no room at the Mohave County Courthouse with respect to house the justice of the peace.
Right, and we got Judge Brady over in your area where we should have combined those. That's all I'm saying is I think
Judge
they
Brady
should-
is in the same building that the Superior Court is in Bullhead City.
He's in the same one there?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. Bullhead has combined the Justice and Superior
You do
Courts
have
are in the same
place.
facility.
So you're using the same front staff and everything?
We do not use the same front staff, just as the Consolidated Court in Lake Havasu does not use the same court staff as the Superior Court.
Well, I mean, you have one place, one-stop shopping, so if a citizen comes up, because they don't know if they're going to
That's
Community
correct.
Court, JP, Superior Court.
And that is correct.
All right. That's the only questions I have. Anything else from the county manager's side, or
No, Mr. Chairman.
do we have a motion on that? Did we have to get a
Motion to approve item 72.
Second the motion for
We have
approval.
a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I don't know if we need to speak.
Item number 43 is approving an administrative order 2012-28, reappointing gentleman as pro tem for the limited jurisdiction courts beginning July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 23. This is a housekeeping, as one name was dropped from before. So is there any questions on this?
No
I have
question.
a motion on this.
Motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Oh, did you?
Only if you had a question.
Just so happy you're adding more judges, yes. We have a motion and a second, no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We stand adjourned.